I'm bisexual. Though I've had a full understanding of my attractions for as long as I can remember, it took me a long time to realize that I could claim bisexuality. And this is because there is so much misinformation about bisexuality out there. And this, coupled with bisexual erasure, led me to assuming that I wasn't allowed to call myself that I didn't count. I wrote this zine to help educate people who are in the position that I was in. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a few things I mentioned within. First of all, bisexual erasure. Alright. Bisexual erasure, or bi-invisibility, is an assumption that everyone in the world is either gay or straight. And this can be determined not how they identify, but by the assumed gender of their partner. A common misunderstanding, and probably the one that tripped me up the most, is the myth that bisexuality is 50-50. Bisexuality does not require an equal attraction to all genders. Most bisexuals don't experience it this way. Bisexual women aren't straight. Bisexual men aren't gay. What's the deal with the assumption that if you can be attracted to men, you're exclusively attracted to men? And on that note, why is the definitive sex act penetration with a penis? Another huge misunderstanding is the assumption that one's romantic attractions and one's sexual attractions must correspond. Though many people use one term as a shorthand to indicate both, it shouldn't be assumed that one's sexual and romantic attractions are the same. Someone could be biromantic and asexual, heteroromantic and bisexual, homoromantic and bisexual, biromantic and heterosexual, heteroromantic and pansexual, and so on. And on that note, though sometimes you hear them used interchangeably, sexual identity and sexual orientation aren't the same thing. Sexual orientation is who you are attracted to. It's not a choice. It's not something you can change. Your sexual identity, however, is how you embrace it or distance yourself from it, and how you want others to see you. Another common misunderstanding is that bisexuality means attraction to men and women. This is not the definition used by most people who identify as bisexual. The most common definition is attraction to your own and other genders. My friend Meryl explains it linguistically. If heterosexuality means attraction to different genders, and homosexuality indicates an attraction to the same gender, then bisexuality would indicate an attraction to same and different genders. Not everyone who experiences attraction to more than one gender prefers the label bisexual. Some feel that the prefix bi relates too much to the gender binary, and that makes it not inclusive enough for them. One of the more popular identities is pansexual. People like how inclusive this is, though some don't prefer it as the term pansexual is not very well known. Another popular identity for people who experience attraction to their own and other genders is queer. They like that it's inclusive and flexible, and they feel that it legitimizes their identity. They like how it's outside of the binary paradigm and makes no references to one's gender, and encompasses many other characteristics about a person that may buck the ciscentric heteronormative status quo. Some people prefer the term bisexual because they like that it's an identity that people are aware of, and they like that this gives them a chance to dispel myths about it and breaks monosexist expectations in their sphere. There are other less popular identities for people indicating an attraction to more than one gender, and there are plenty of people who prefer no identity at all. A common explanation from people like this is, I'm attracted to people, not gender. And on the topic of identity, the fact of the matter is there are plenty of gay and lesbian identified folks who acknowledge some level of different gender attraction. And there are straight identified folks who acknowledge same gender attraction. People do a lot of rounding up when it comes to their sexual orientation for a number of reasons. There's a lot of effort put into maintaining a rigid divide between heterosexuality and homosexuality. Bisexuality perforates this divide. The fragility of straightness and homophobia's zero-tolerance policy makes it pretty clear why heterosexuality is threatened by bisexuality. But bisexuality can be rejected by gay people too. Many bi folks have been rejected in the gay community for being not out, confused, faking, too straight, holding on to straight privilege, and accused of being devalued in some way for having relations with a different sex partner. The reality is, many gay folks had to use bisexuality as a halfway out closet, generally when they're young. Bisexuality threatens homosexuality by adding fodder to the homophobic myth that it's a choice, which conflates sexual identity with sexual orientation, assuming that if one could be attracted to someone and enter into a heterosexual relationship, that this is what they must do, never mind the actual feelings or desires of the person in question. The patriarchy and its tool, homophobia, hurt us all. My goal with Claiming Bisexuality is to make people think about the rigid boxes and the policing of gender and sexuality in our culture. Besides being a resource for people who think they don't count, this is really a beneficial read for anyone living in a puritanical, sex-negative culture. If you'd like to support queer woman-owned art and learn a bit more, look for a purchase link in the description. Until next time.